getting ready. Another one.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You got them, please.
Okay, I'll put you together.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you on the camera. Got Lowe's autographing this.
He said he want this bootleg DJ to sign. Where you want me to sign it on the
You can sign on the Renaissance Center.
you want it on the
Yeah, you can on the
side?
actual art.
Huh?
On the art. Yeah, you can
Okay, on the art. Okay.
Yeah, put it right on the art. Yeah, right on the cover of it. Yeah. Lowe's, DJ Lowe's. It's one of the first 4 hip-hop albums out of Detroit. Easy being DJ Lowe's. Untouchables, y'all.
You had to do gangster funk, you rap over the flashlight, you gonna be popular. But he came out in our era, you know, we was like kind of close in the era.
Don't smile, boy, don't smile, face, kids, a real macaroni. Cause when I rock a jam, the standing room only. I was raised in the streets of Detroit, and I deal with the story to tell of how I got over, the money's made. And jams like these were hardly ever played on the radio. It's sort of like they rejected it. I took it back, and then I perfected it. So I felt like a drug called crack. I
about Detroit and bringing what you've learned and gleaned from all these great leaders that have come before us is that it's well received, and it's very received because the world looks at Detroit as a creative and innovative hub. And as far as hip hop is concerned, they really look to us to see what the next wave is going to be. And I think that our geographical positioning in the country, us being Midwest and being able to see those influences of both the East and West Coast and South, I think that we're able to actually see what's happening before the rest of the world really can get a glimpse of it. And in doing so, I think that we're able to kind of hone in our own skills and our own sound. And I don't take that for granted. When I hear Detroit artists, I know exactly where they're from. I know exactly where they're from the hood dudes, the street rap, to the more conscious flows, all of that, I can still tell, oh, that's Detroit right there. And the rest of the world can tell that too. And I think that what gives us our innovation is we lost industry, unfortunately, as far as the entertainment industry is concerned. And when you come from an industrial town and you're kind of left behind in the technological era, you have no choice but to become the great artist that you all are. Because industry has left us behind in some sense of the word, but it's also left us to cultivate our own style and sound. And so there's a lot to be said about, I would hear this coming up a lot. Oh, don't nobody mess with Detroit. Oh, they don't ever consider us in Detroit. They need to look at Detroit. The rest of the world, they have always kept their eye on us. But the blessing that we overlooked is we were in a hub and kind of like a snow globe of sorts where we can form our own thoughts and create our own sounds and not be disturbed. And I don't think that gets acknowledged enough. We always talk about who's not letting us in, and we never acknowledge who hasn't been able to infiltrate. So we have to really recondition our train of thought in regards to what we think we're lacking. We haven't lacked anything. And with that being said, I would like to pass the mic over to my brothers to the right of me and get their perspective on what's been happening in Detroit and how has your global impact been influenced by your local positionings.
go by the name of Bullwackie. I'm originally from Kingston, born and raised. And I've been here for 25 plus years, so I'm kind of the new guy in the city still. And from what I've noticed, first coming here and hearing the music, was mainly influenced by reggae and, you know, industry songs you're more familiar with in the States. But coming here and hearing the Detroit sound, it was kind of different. So I never really, I mean, I saw the energy, I saw what it did to people, I saw the impact it had on people. I couldn't see what it, I couldn't really see what it did globally, because, you know, I'm fresh from Jamaica. But I could see it had some power. It was more of a movement sound to me. And coming here at 9 years old, you know, it took a while for it to grow on me. But at the same time, being a musician, you know, I've been doing music since, you could say, 9, 10 years old. Just interested in it. And you can just really say, I never really tried to adjust to the sound. Kind of just did what I felt, you know. I really just pulled, because, you know, we all learning. We all really kids at the end of the day. So we still getting all the information. So you, as an artist, you pull from life, you pull from other artists, which are reflections of what's going on. And, you know, I kind of just developed my own sound, just staring through and growing with the city. And, you know, it's been since the last 3-4 years, I could say, like, the city, doing my homework, the city always been popping. It's always been Motown. This is where it's always been. But, you know, over the years, things get diluted, especially the music, and that affects the culture as a whole. And it's been more recent. We've been getting recognition for what's going on in the musical scene, and I think it's great. I love it. I love it. And but like you were stressing about real artists or real music per se, or true expression, you know, we gotta figure out a way how to bring that back, whether it's we got more people that teach in music or people playing instruments again, like, you know, it's like everything is being forgotten. But I could honestly say, I think it's in a great space. Me, I haven't even made a mark or really an imprint back home. You know, this is really my home, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Detroit shotter now, you know what I'm saying? So, and I just want to help with the sound and just the development, and hopefully we can bring everything back to what it was.
Sir, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I go by the name of DJ Butter. Shout out to DSense Bullwackie. Yeah, coming up, man, if y'all notice, like, the hip-hop shop had, like, Strictly Roots. It was, like, next door to it, but I always looked at Strictly Roots and said, how can we get Detroit hip-hop, like, overseas, like, through this Jamaican connection right here with Strictly Roots. So, you know, staying tied into him, you know, just looking at the landmarks in the city and just networking with some of the people to really go where they're from. You know, where we at, we just gotta go where they're from, you know what I'm saying? But I was going there and to one day, he was squeezing me like every time I go in there. Butter, give me 100 tapes for $100, this type of thing. But I said, okay, you know, fuck it, I'm gonna go in there. If barter with him. I'm gonna try to get him to do a show with Junior Reed or one of the Sizzlers, somebody over there. So we finally did that, and I said, I want to have some of my artists open up, and Big Herc and those guys. So to put the gumbo together, and so when Junior Reed finally came to the city, and we networked and kicked it out, I finally went to Jamaica. You got to like me and things like that. But it's just a passport, connection, and that's the smallest thing. You know what I'm saying? But when I went to Jamaica, I went to one of the record stores, and I was, where's Detroit hip hop at? Where So I made sure I flooded the stores, but they only had one Trick CD in there, So if we could just do that around the world, you know what I'm saying, just different, races and creeds, and hey, where you from? Let's network, and that's just a start, But that's just my story.
Yeah, unity. And no, I'm just saying amen.
And it led me to meet, people like Resiliient Radio right here. One of the owners of Resiliient Radio is a big streaming network. On the rise, we doing big numbers every week. I'm on there every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I want y'all to share business cards and connect with them. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna get bigger every second. We here now.
Appreciate that, bud. All right, so welcome everybody. First off, let me say it is an absolute joy to be here. I'm one of the founders of the Resilient Radio stream. You can check out our channel, resilientradio.net. Our app is also in the Android phone store. We're on Alexa. We just launched on Roku, Fire TV, LG TV. So we're doing our thing. A little backdrop about the station. I owned a separate business. I started my streaming channel maybe about 2 years or so ago, and I started the streaming channel because I was spending so much money on advertising on the radio and so much, the big boys, JOBs, etc. And someone said, you know what? You should start your own streaming channel. No DJ history, none of the above. Besides my family, I have a family that goes back to DJs about 40 years or so. And so I built a studio in my warehouse with my other products, and I started streaming about 2 years or so ago. And I remember sitting at that screen looking, and I started it, and I said, all right, well, let me see. And I saw it was 2 people on there, and I said, all right, I know who that is. That's me and my parents. All right, so they're looking, all right. And fast forward to today, 1.79 million monthly listeners on the global streaming channel. And shout that out. And so as far as our global imprint, so our premise is we have DJs all across the world, right? I didn't want to start the streaming channel as just a specific genre. It's the music melting pot. I have my own show that comes on Fridays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. I have over 400,000 listeners just on my show specifically. Butter's on the show as well. He's doing numbers. And I have the DJs in UK, in Canada, Nigeria, and they actually DJ from these global locations. And one thing that I can say specifically about Detroit hip hop is that, when I speak to some of the international DJs, they always ask me, do I have a plug to some of the street stuff that's in the city? So I encourage the local artists to make sure that you guys reach out to us, or the producers or record labels, because there's definitely a need for Detroit hip hop internationally as well. And I think, if you guys travel, if you go to different states and countries, you can kind of almost point out somebody from the D, right? If you see them somewhere in the airport, you kind of like, you know what? I think you either from Michigan, you somewhere in the D. So, we all have that I can call it a swagger about us or something, but everywhere we go, we represent. And so does our music, right? Our music was, obviously we're from Motown, but that has now transitioned to our hip hop. Like he said, the local artists now are getting a lot of recognition worldwide. It's a lot of requests. We also have request lines on our app. People are requesting locally. Sometimes I have to pull it back to make sure that it's not all Detroit, because it is a global channel, but we gotta represent. It's hard not to play our own music. It's hard not to push our own artists. It's hard not to push us, right? And so there's a balance to make sure that we're representing, hip hop and representing Detroit, and also making sure that we keep the door open, you know, as we are broadcasting to over 25 countries. And then you can tell, you know, once you play some of the Detroit artists, you can tell from the numbers, you can see that they want that, you know. So I've even been entertaining, just doing a Detroit show, a Detroit music show, just kind of scrambling that in there as well. So it's important. So when I got the opportunity, one thing I'll tell you about Butter, which was funny, I met Butter on Instagram, and I was just kind of scrolling, and I went to his page, and I was going through his, you know, some of the stuff he was posting. I said, you know what? I wonder if Butter would spin on this channel. So I just DM'd him and said, hey, Butter, you want to come on the Resiliant Radio stream? His only question was, where you from? I said, Detroit. Bet, I'm on. You know, so he didn't ask any questions. He didn't, you know, how much he gonna charge, any of that. He just bet, I'm on it. He's been spending with us, and he invited us out to this wonderful event, and I'm glad to see it. I hope this is the first year. I hope we can continue to represent hip-hop locally. Again, we're here to spread the word, spread the artists, so it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all.
Thank you, brothers, for that. I would like to ask just a couple more questions. We talked about the ubiquity of hip-hop, Detroit hip-hop in particular. I want to ask you gentlemen about the intergenerational components to the preservation of hip-hop. When we talk about how ubiquitous it's been, when we talk about the longevity of hip-hop, Detroit hip-hop in particular, what has been the role of the elders and the youth and the folk in between like myself that has really, in your opinion, let us stand the test of time? How have we become so instrumental and inevitably monumental in this hip-hop thing as far as the intergenerational appeal and the ubiquity of it? Anybody can take that.
I think the older generation got to be a little more inviting. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, text messages and all that stuff has become antisocial. So we can't be on that level of thinking. It's like, yo, when we pick up the phone, say, yo, young dog, I think you should be here, or, you know, just kind of leading the way more. I think the social media made us more antisocial. It's just doing that. I'm flying here from Arizona. You know what I'm saying? I get off the plane shaking. You know what I'm saying? And as I get older, it's like, yo, you got to do this now because you got, you know, it's anxiety time and all this. But so I said, let me reach the youth as much as I can, while I can. You know, so you know, just being real. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's just, you know, socializing. You know, just like, you know, and I'm making an effort like to when you know, like you say, I know this little kid got a gun on him. I know he blow my head off, but let me open the door for him. Like, you know, I'm going to the gas station. You know what I'm saying? And you know, let me get a thank you out of him. You know, we're gonna exchange thank yous, and I think that it starts from, you know what I'm saying, from there. You know, that's just me.
Anybody can grab it.
Well, I would say that there's definitely a little bias because I'm biased to old hip hop, you know. But I will echo that, right? We should be a little more inviting. Sometimes it's tough because you see some things and you're like, what the hell are they doing? What kind of song is that? What are they doing? But you know, understanding as well though that the hip hop that we kind of grew up on, there's an element of that, and a lot of times you know, I think sometimes our generation probably failed them in many ways because if you're playing some of the classics and they've never heard of them, you know, if you're putting on stuff like Run DMC and, you know, the Tribe Called Quest, etc., some of the younger generations have never heard of them. I know in my household, we walked around, we heard Marvin Gaye and all the rest, so that was your first introduction to slow music and love music, but this generation somehow, they haven't heard the beginnings of hip-hop. There should be no reason for some of the newer artists who haven't heard some of the foundational hip-hop artists, and maybe we didn't play it enough, maybe there was a gap in the household, but again, I just feel like if you hear our older music, it's hard not to like it. And then when they hear it, it's actually funny. On YouTube, you'll see there's some there's always some young kids. I don't know what what their show is, but there's some young kids that sit around the camera and they play old music and they kind of rate it, and they'll go through the song and they'll, oh my God, allegedly they've never heard the songs, but they're always excited to hear older hip hop, older R&B, older music. So, you know, maybe we could play a little bit more, or, you know, instead of hiding, because we always treat our vets bad, the rap vets. I know, like Big Daddy Kane getting into it now with you know, so.
But you know, at the end of the day, we in a material world right now. I mean, you know, it's just, I think they see more of materialism now at our all-time rate. I think some of our OGs didn't get that fair share of saying that he's a mogul over there, or, you know, and that kids kind of just say, oh, Birdman was the template, you know, that type of thing. But, yeah, but it's just, I think it's just, we're in a worldly world right now, and just keep pursuing, man. And showing that we great, showing our homeboys is great, you know, our homegirls is great, with or without money. And I you know, it's just the narrative of saying, oh, this guy that don't have a big necklace on, I can't listen to him, you know what I'm saying? That gotta change, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, just the narrative, but at least show that we got some unity. You know, it's probably strength in numbers. I mean, just looking at the other day, they said the Wu-Tang Clan signed for $60,000. They got $7,000 apiece. And this at that time, and then you say, damn, a lot of my friends was just walking around with that. You know what I'm saying? And Detroit don't even really see the value and what they went through, like the EPMDs, they signed for $2,000 and things like that. But we got to get better with that part of just being so worldly right now. You know?
Yes. And to piggyback off of what you just said, Butter, I find that with social media presence and availability for all types of music at your fingertips in your bedroom, we aren't as industrious as we once were when things weren't as readily accessible. You know it better than anybody, a lot of you DJs. You had to go dig through the crates. You had to block off the person next to you so you had the hottest shit. And they didn't know what your magic was. Now, all the recipes are out. Now all your magic is exposed. All your technique is exposed. Nobody really feels like they have to earn anything because everything is so readily accessible. That leads to a stunted growth if any. But if you really look at it, there hasn't been an opportunity for youth to really discover their true sense of self and artistry because everybody is front and center. There's nothing to see. There's no Easter eggs. There's no mining for those gems anymore because you serving it up to me. Well, I got to work for it. And it goes back to, I see that big chain, and I'm going to listen to you because you got the big chain, but more importantly, I'm going to listen to you because I want to bypass all the work it took to get that big chain. And I just want to put it on my neck, not even knowing what it means. So with all that's going on, I think that we have to get back to being industrious. We have to get back to searching. We have to get back to seeking. And it's easier said than done because everything is at our fingertips. So with that being said, I want to have one more question. I know press for time. We'll end it on that. Thanks, y'all.
All right, give it up for Global Imprint. So, welcome back, everybody. If you're in a building, if you're in here building a career in this culture, talent is only half the battle. The infrastructure behind you is what really matters. To break it down, how media management really works in the modern game, let's welcome our next panel to the stage. Give it up for Con Davison, Miles Dixon, Uncle P, and Brandon Smith of Star Factory. Okay, fellas, how about y'all introduce yourselves? Whoever wants to
All right, I'll start. My name is Brandon Smith from Star Factory. I've been doing so it's artist development. I've been doing artist development, developing singers, rappers. This is my 21st year. So yeah, 2 decades in, and also do music programming in schools to teach youth how to create music. I sell courses, artist development courses, like worldwide.
Peace, my name is Khan Centauri Davidson. I'm a writer and photographer, journalist, been covering Detroit hip hop really since around 2000, 2001. Most notably for the Detroit Metro Times, but also for like Outlier, Bridge Detroit, and other publications around the city.
Once again, my name is DJ Butter, mixtape DJ, producer, a party promoter, a publisher, a magazine called Funky Fresh in the Flesh. I did that in my youth. Now it's a podcast. I did a lot of work with D12, Eminem, Obi Trice, Odie James, Corrupt, Dog Pound, Coogee Rap. Just merging everybody together with some of those guys and just bringing it together. You know, that's just like what I do, just putting the gumbo together.
Uncle P, owner of DetroitRap.com, godfather of the beat battle scene here in the Detroit area. Also co-founder of the Underground Hip Hop Awards that had a great run here in the city, trying to celebrate the culture here. Promoter, entertainment consultant, a little bit of everything. That's about it.
Yeah, I want to ask you about your roles in Michigan hip hop. What you tell them about the website, you know, how you was doing award ceremonies previously, and you know how important it is to preserve our culture. You know.
I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna just try and make this short. Back when I was in high school in Pontiac, one of the things that really got me into entertainment was Kappa League Talent Show. And that was the Kappa organization bringing all of Pontiac together to show what could happen, you know, with the talent that was in the city. And the way I saw that bring together the city and all this talent, it just made me see what was possible when you're trying to bring people together. So that's something that's always been a part of me. And I went down to school, Art Institute of Atlanta. When I came back here, I saw a void, and that's when internet radio was just jumping off, and that's when I got my feet wet back in the Detroit scene with Local Love Radio. Transitioned to that, got DetroitRap.com, and I just wanted to see a platform that didn't have the bias, you know, to it. It was important to me to celebrate everybody that had movement. You know, I wanted to celebrate people that was doing things the right way, you know, interacting with people, moving around the city to different tastemakers. You know, all that stuff is important. And I just wanted to celebrate and help do my part in pushing that narrative and letting people know, hey, you ain't got to just be loyal to what I'm doing over here. Go rock with Butter, you know. Go rock with the other promoters in the city. Come back and see me every 3 to 4 months, but make your rounds, because that's how you get known out here amongst the people that can talk about you and make things happen.
Yeah, Khan, you've been writing for the Metro Times for a while. I always wanted to see more Detroit hip hop on Vibe magazine and Source magazine covers, but when you put it together, it kind of bring that feeling, man. Talk about you know, good journalism and opposed to what's going on now with podcasting and, you know, things like that.
Well, the biggest difference between with podcasting and trust me, I don't have any gripes against anybody that make content or influencers, but you know, we're in an era in which anybody can go online and say anything about anything, and it becomes fact. If it's on the right platform and they say it, well, they say it on here, you know, is this, and then people take it and run with it, and Like, yo, fact checking is a thing. Fact checking is important. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can tell you something, but before you rebroadcast it or rewrite it, that's a thing. Like, that, just a real loose example. I remember when not Playboy Cardi, it was NBA YoungBoy. The show was canceled. Man, people getting online on platforms, on legitimately podcast platforms. Yeah, man, he was fearing for his life, or it was gonna be a gang. All these things, like, I'm sitting here like, that's not the reason. And at that time, I couldn't say the reason because the promoter, I believe it was either 313%, the venue had put out a statement. But for the most part, the reason was that the Urshers, for those who remember, it was a video that came out a few days before of Ursher getting beat up at the concert. And the venue and the Urshers and support staff was like, nah, man, we all calling in that day. So it had nothing to do with threats, had nothing to do with beef, nothing to do with another rapper. That was the reason. But I'm watching all these people get up here and say that, and that happens more times than y'all think. And then life just goes on, and it becomes content. I mean, it got all the clicks it need to get, and so that happens on the local level as far as between artists here, and people make videos and say things. So that has kind of replaced journalism as how people get the information and what they believe to be factual.
What was your favorite interview you ever did?
Favorite interview? That had to be probably Cashed a couple years ago. Because from a journalist perspective, I got a lot out. She was getting ready to announce her second pregnancy. And that was, if anybody saw it, that was the image of her with the mink coat on, with the bad boy's hat, laying on the bed with, her stomach out. And so it was kind of sort of an exclusive. She announced it in People, and my issue came out a week after that. And Cashed Out was just dope. And that was the first woman. She was the first woman actually on the cover for the Metro Times back in 2015. And so now you got, roughly a little bit more than about around 10 years later, and she was the first woman MC on the cover that's been on the cover twice for the Metro Times. First woman rapper. Let me put that MC, but yeah, that was dope, man. That was fun, and she gave me, a real interview. It wasn't of course we talked beats and bars, but we talked about motherhood. We talked about the creative balance of raising two kids and having a public relationship. You know what I mean? We had a mature conversation, and so I was really I was proud of how I handled all that.
One more thing, I want to ask you, what's your favorite part about the Detroit culture period?
Oh, easy. Detroit, it's the most, I would say the most authentic place on the planet. Like, if you ain't you, we'll figure it out. We'll know in 3 seconds if you ain't who you say you are. We'll know. I heard my man, Resiliant Radio, he told a story in the last panel about we know Detroit people, even when we not from Detroit. We unfairly, like, once we know what school you went to and one side street, we know your whole life. You know what I'm saying? Where you from? It's like, Mendota. Oh, for real? Yeah, I went to Mumford. Okay, I know everything about your whole, I know what music you listen to. I know your favorite Coney Island. I know everything about you from that. And I get that. To your point, I was in Miami at just shopping at the outlet. I was in the Valley store. And there was a dude, I don't know what it was about the man. I just looked over at him. Man, you from Detroit? He just bust out laughing. He was like, yeah, man, 6 Mile in Southfield. I'm like, that's what's up, man. What's that over here too, bro? He was like, what made you ask me? Man, I don't know, man. The Detroit, I could just feel it, man. Like, a man from Detroit.
Wow.
Okay, so Brandon, from an artist development standpoint, how much of the modern infrastructure is about fixing the business versus actually polishing the talent?
Check. I would say it's mostly business. The individuals are, it's up to them to develop themselves nowadays. order management. You know, like labels are not gonna do it. Like every rapper that I ever developed was sent by their management, you know, not anybody else. And definitely most of them don't do it themselves. So, I think it is about motion and like, you know, it's more about whose songs are doing what as opposed to who's more talented. But I mean, and that's why we still kind of have like the same superstars that we've had for decades, because those are the developed artists. So I still think it's very important that artists take artist development serious. But it's just nowadays, you know, it's more exciting to chase viral, you know, going viral or just numbers as opposed to just being like really, really dope, undeniably dope. And you know, it's just like I think like, you know, if you announce that you're dropping a new song or whatever, it's not as exciting as it used to be. But the one thing that will always be exciting is an amazing performance, you know. So it's just like, if anything else, just make sure that as an artist, that performance is the dopest thing that we've seen, because it's like you can establish fandom forever off one dope performance. Whereas nowadays, just like, you know, you gotta kind of consistently drop music and to keep the audience satisfied, but like one performance will last a lifetime.
And how do you go about developing these artists?
Well, I mean, you know, it's like 95% mental. It's like you gotta get them to get the right mindset, you know. But I mean, I have like drills and exercises and all that, but it's like most of the clients that I see, I'm only seeing for like an hour or 2 or 3 a week. So it's another 165 hours out that week. So basically, I'm just showing them the blueprint of how to develop themselves at the crib. You know, so I definitely, you know, have exercises on breathing, and I have exercises on artistic movement and connection with the audience. But one of the biggest things is them being able to just understanding like what being a developed artist is. So it's curating a show. You know, it's like you don't just throw the DJ 3 songs and just, you know, go perform. No, you get in the studio and put a show together. You use your creative energy. The same creative energy you put into those songs is now you put into the performance, you know? And so it's like transitions and familiar moments and interactive moments and, you know, all that. You put that into the show, and then you get your own artistic movement together, you know, your own arsenal. And connect, how to connect. You know, you connect through conversation, body language, eye contact, and facial expressions. And that's something you need to learn as an artist. And that does not come natural to 99% of artists. So it's gotta be developed.
Okay. This is for any one of you. I know the media landscape changes so fast, so between traditional media, the blogs and podcasts and short form content like TikTok, where should an emerging artist be focusing their energy to get the most impactful coverage right now?
Honestly, I would say the music, because the biggest misconception about content, people, if it was that easy to get, say, 1 million followers, sell 1 million records, it'd be a lot more people with 1 million records. You know what I mean? People can fall in love with your content, fall in love with your posts, your personality, your character, things you post every day, and then go to your music and be like, oh, that, you know, that was cute, and they keep it moving. But they love what you talk about. You know. So the two don't always equal. Don't always equal music success. You know what I'm saying? And so I always, you know, you see more people though, as I interview artists, that there's some that chase it from a content standpoint. They're trying to do all these things other than music to put themselves out there when they haven't even spent enough time doing the actual music part. You know what I'm saying? And then you just got some people that they put the music part out because they kind of a natural introvert. They hate doing content. And So they in the lab, and the whole thing of having them like, I gotta talk on camera and post about my life, they just hate it. And so, you know what I mean? So I gotta tell people, focus on the music, you know. And in that, I think the worst thing you could probably, I've seen people do is really compare yourself to anybody else, because everybody's journey ain't the same. Listen, there's a 19-year-old kid somewhere that's gonna pull out a song or two, and next thing you know, he got a mixtape on YouTube getting 100,000 views. Another 19-year-old kid gonna do the same thing and get 5 views. He might put out 5 more mixtapes and get no more than 50 views. And he looking at my man like, that's the game. That's just what it is. Sometimes that's just how it works out. Don't get in your, you know what I mean? Don't get in your feelings and start doing things outside the music, because you chasing the views my man over here getting. You know, just stick to the music.
I want to ask you, is it important for the artist to still have a relationship with the record stores that exist?
With the record stores?
There's a lot of stores out here.
I don't think so. Because number one, I couldn't even name like 5 stores, but I think it's more the relationship with the fans, you know, because you can do so much direct to consumer nowadays, and it's artists that you might think are up and coming that are eating like crazy because they know how to serve the people, they know how to serve their fan base, they know how to create the systems. And they know how to like communicate in the DMs, and you know they know how to create offers like vinyl records and things of that nature. So I do think that, you know, being able to do meet and greets at stores is still a thing, you know, but that's a lot of people. Their fan base is so scattered nowadays that I don't think it's as important to just be tapped in to the stores. But I mean, I wouldn't frown upon it at all.
Okay, I actually like that you spoke on fan bases, because as a management team, how can you ensure that your artist is building a real loyal fan base rather than just chasing a temporary viral moment?
Just build a brand, you know. It's like the brand, it's got to make sense. It's like, number one, what Khan was saying is the music. It's like, I don't think any artist in 2026 should ever sit back and think, what song, what do the people want to hear? I don't think it should ever be about what you think the people want to hear. You know, it should always be about what's inside of you. What do you love? What music do you want to make? And then how do you center the brand around you? You know, the image, the messaging, the captions, everything. It has to speak to the same thing you speak in the music, and then I feel like the fans will come. But you got to focus on fan base. You have to literally, it's called building a fan base. You got to actually focus on building that. And until you got 100 fans, I feel like you should do that one-on-one. You know, build one fan at a time. And I always relate like artists and politicians, because like when somebody is running for office, they're relentless in trying to get them votes. So if you're up and coming artist and you want to study how to promote, just study Mary Sheffield. You know, study a politician, because they're at the biggest events, and then they're at the smallest spots for that campaign or whatever. So if you really work that hard like a politician, I feel like you can build it. You know, you can hit your benchmarks. Like first benchmark should be 100 fans, and then 500, then 1,000, and then just keep pushing.
Any of you guys want to touch on that?
No, I think he hit the nail on the head as far as one. Sometimes, like I use the example of Danny Brown. Danny Brown was grinding for a long time before like he found his people found him. And a lot of times, and that's kind of the difference with a lot of artists. You know what I mean? You trying to find the people, that like what you put out, that like your brand of music. You're not making it, you making the music for yourself. This is who you are, this is your style. And you building your fan base, and the consistency being behind that and going to where they are, man. One of the craziest mistakes I see people make is when they may pay a promoter $1,000 to perform at some white party or something. What you giving this promoter to perform at this party, is this your crowd? You know what I mean? Are they playing all R&B and here you come talking about the cartel and all this that I mean, is this even your crowd? You didn't if you just want to flush $1,000 on the toilet, you just gave it to me. You know what I'm saying? That's not how you build your fan base. You know what I'm saying? So I agree definitely with what Brandon said.
Is it important for artists to go to the strip clubs or the hip hop spots and say, yo, tip the DJ to play their music or whatever? Is that important still to this day?
If that's where your audience is, like something you said earlier, and I think I might have heard the question differently than what Khan had said when he mentioned the music, and I thought that was spot on. What I heard your question was if there was a specific type of media they should be concentrating on, like podcasts or things like that. And I always tell artists, create the music that you love and then understand the people that love what you create. You gotta know your fan base. I tell people all the time, my music is for everybody. No, it's not. It can be, but you can spend a lot of money trying to throw your music at everybody first. Find your tribe, feed your tribe, and then your tribe will go around and be like, hey man, I'm getting fed over here. Come eat some of this stuff off this plate. So that's kind of how I saw that. As far as the strip clubs, if that's where your audience is, that's where you need to be. And that's the biggest thing with the internet. You can find niche audiences everywhere. I don't care if you like cats that's bald. You'll find an audience on the internet for it. You know what you're interested in, so start trying to feed the people that has the same interests instead of worrying about people that's chasing quote-unquote popular culture or popular artists, things like that.
And to your point with the strip club, I remember I interviewed Vezo some years ago. That was a practice he did, but he was like, but don't get it twisted, bro. Like, people do it all the time, it don't work. Right. The music still got a hit. They could play your song 9,000 times and have somebody throw money up in the air and act like it's turned up. The music ain't hit. People's gonna wait for the song to go off and wait for something else they like to party with, so,
You think people still interested in cover stories, as far as pushing the product just now where you got the internet kind of surpassed, physical magazine? Is cover stories still? I mean, you'll see magazines at some of the airports, terminals, and things like that. But the readership, like opposed to people seeing a cover story on the internet that you wrote, opposed to a physical Metro Times.
Yeah, if anything, a lot of people only care about the cover story, and particularly with the Metro Times. That periodical has like 102,000 followers. So people would care more about like either the cover story or just the caption, make it on the website. Being in the paper or being in the actual website part, well, a lot of times it doesn't move the needle for them. But being on the Metro Times Instagram page and their social media page, because they got a large following, for them that means more. That hits a little harder. For a lot of artists.
I mean, because you notice like how Source magazine they promote nowadays. I know it's not a physical magazine vibe, but now that the internet exists, it's just they're not looking for stories, just like they're pulling stories and stuff.
Yeah, and that's why you got some publications, they do online covers. Like I think like Vader is still out there. Complex does. I know Double XL has done a couple. Like it's simply just it didn't print. It's just the online cover because covers just get attention.
What about streaming radio? What's your take on that? You know, the upcoming streaming platforms. What you suggest for the artists to seek out? I know we got Resiliant Radio in the house, but is it important for artists to really have a Rolodex anymore, like email Rolodex? They're just searching on the internet for Instagram pages. You know, a lot of artists don't sit there and say, let me go look at all my emails and let me do a blast. Is that important now? Do artists need to do that anymore?
I think you can never know enough people. Like right now, there's so many people screaming about me, that it means something more when DJ Butter say your name, when Khan says your name, when Brandon says your name. You know, you want people talking about you. And social media, people selling social media, people selling ads will always try and tell you this is the technology, you know, this old hand-to-hand stuff. Man, we still go outside. We still show up at places. We still do this. So don't let somebody tell you just go into digital, you know. Do both. Like, you got 24 hours in a day, make the most out of them and handle both. If you're not good at one, find you somebody that can help you with the other. But do both. Find out where your audience responds the best. Push some more weight there, but always leave your cards open to see what's gonna pop. Data is everything. So when you get data on your consumers, on your fans, study it. Study it, find out how it can apply to more people that fit that same type of, you know, thought process.
All right.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for participating. You know.
We got some good insight from panel 2. Y'all make some noise for them. Okay, right now we're gonna have a quick 10-minute break. This is your time to go ahead and network with the person to your left or the person to your right. You can hit the content creator areas. We do have a room in the back. They have things back there for you guys to participate in and buy. And so yeah, 10 minutes and we'll be right back.
Trust me, I'm as live as it gets. Everybody claiming the best and they head the pros.
Come on, we about to get ready for our third and final panel for the day. This is the panel that protects our future, pretty much. We are talking about ownership, building a legacy that lasts generations. So please put your hands together for our final feature panelists, Chevelle, Troy Davis, Ced Louie, and Brian Piccolo. Yeah.
This is Jay Jones.
Oh, that wasn't on that list. You popped up out of nowhere? Jay Jones, y'all.
Check 1 2. Check. Well, I guess I want to properly introduce myself.
Please.
I am one of those. I'm Chevelle. Chevelle Crawford. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a hip-hop artist, a producer, director, educator, father, all-around good guy. I was asked to speak today because this portion is about ownership, and I actually own not only a record label, but a media production company as well. The company is Ready Set Media. We just produced our first feature film called Boss Shit. It's inappropriately titled, but has an appropriate message. It's a comedy based here in Detroit, romantic comedy. We call it a comedic love story. And it features people like comedian CP, Donnie Comedy, Mike Bonner, Toy Too Tall, my brother right here, my good brother right here, Jamez Earl Jonez, Jay Jones, who's also an MC on the label of Ready Set Media Music Group. Just dropped his solo album in July of last year. July of last year. That's Destiny LP that came out, produced by yours truly. With also some featured producers, including DJ Butter, who's influential in this space.
DJ Cage as well.
DJ Cage, who was just here in the building, yep. So I just want to introduce myself properly, as well as introduce Jamez Earl Jonez, my brother from another mother, so because he wasn't on the panel, so I want to make sure that they knew he was on it. Yeah, he wasn't on the panel, right? And then I get a brother Piccolo and the other brother had the chance to introduce themselves as well.
Ced Louie, Hands Up Management. Yeah. No, you good. So, 20 years. Today, this is my 20-year anniversary this year of my management company, Hands Up Management. It went by real fast. That shit was crazy. I've worked with artists, Bodie James, Sick Notes. I currently manage Helluva, Producer Energy, Rod 49, Nisha Lachey, GMO Stack. So, we got a vast clientele list. Just like he was saying, it's ownership. So a lot of it is like with my clients and making sure they recognize ownership in the work that they're doing. Like I said, myself having a management company for 20 years. I actually just launched my own company, Hands Up Recordings. I just released my first project called Milton Bradley, which is a compilation to celebrate my 20-year anniversary that features a lot of the artists I work with. And I'm looking forward to just, discussing all the topics of ownership and intellectual property.
What up, though? I'm Troy Davis, also a producer known by the Davis Way. I am co-owner of Architect Entertainment, a multi-conglomerate company. We distribute books, music, and 2027 we'll start with films. One of the subsidiaries that I started was Davis & Davis Registrations, where I help artists learn how to copyright their music, trademark their business name, and have full ownership, where they can pass their legacy down to their kids legally and not, poor man's copyright. I've been at this for about 10 years, started with Uncle P, went to Michigan Beat Battle League, won Detroit Music Award for classical music, worked with artists such as P-Dot and Beck. And right now, as far as clients, currently have Black Lion Society, DJ Los, and Awesome Dre. Thank you.
How's it going? Again, I'm Jamez Earl Jonez, J. Jones for short. Definitely appreciative of being able to get up on the stage and try to add what I can to the conversation. I am a lyricist for one. I've been a lyricist for the last 25 years. Started with YBP back in the days, man, doing shows all throughout Detroit. That's how I met DJ Butter. Ended up being blessed to be able to get on some of his mixtapes back in the days. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan originally, guys. But did my thing, of course, in my own city. But man, we was in Detroit every weekend trying to make it happen. And you guys that are old enough to know what hip hop was like back in the days in Detroit, man, where everybody grinding, everybody, at all kind of different shows and really just trying to elevate and push their music. You know what I'm saying? That was a beautiful thing, man. That's what made me fall in love with hip hop, man. And what makes me still have a love for hip hop right now and still doing music 25 years later. I'm also an author and a poet, but all that really leaked out from being, like I said, a lyricist, man. I pushed myself to do other kind of writing. And, I told myself I was going to write a book. I told myself I was going to do scripts, write scripts and commercials. And I was able to do that. You know what I'm saying? I also have a label, Creative Space, here based in Detroit, myself and John Greasy. We dropped the album about 1.5 years ago. It's on all platforms if y'all want to check that out. Creative Space, by Creative Space. But I bring that up because the second album is dropping on the 12th of June, CS2. So it's definitely going to be a dope project, man. I'm glad to be here to be able to speak to you guys about different things that we're doing to keep elevating the culture. And y'all continue to have a blessed day, man.
All right. Okay, so this question is up in the air. For the creators and the producers that are in the room, what is the very first step they need to take to legally protect their music or brand before they start sharing it on social media or streaming platforms?
Sign up for ASCAP or BMI or CSEC immediately. Right now, before you even record anything. If you're thinking about being an artist, go sign up for that. Like, I find it that so many people don't understand about performance rights organizations. They don't understand publishing. They don't understand what it is. Because it's actually two different streams of income. So you have income as a writer, and then you also have income as a publisher, which most of the time people leave the publishing money on the floor because they sign up to be a writer and they think that's it. They don't even sign up on the other side to be able to collect that money. And you know, that money kind of just sits in limbo for 3-4 years and then it's gone. So do that before you do anything.
And what did you call it again?
It's a performance rights organization. So you have ASCAP, you have BMI, or CSEC.
I hope y'all listening.
So that's the first thing.
And I like to add to that, also trademark your name as a producer or as an MC, because I came across, like I said, a lot of artists in the city with the same rap name. And once they put their music out on them streaming services, it is hard to figure out which version of this artist is which version of this artist. So I've worked with artists where it's like, just like, okay, that's my name. I'm like, okay, it's like 17 other people in this country with your name right now. And that's not even counting a global search. Also, like to add what he said, learn about mechanical royalties. Because those are the royalties that people get lost even when you do vinyl releases. So when you have vinyl pressed out, get a barcode on the back, so when you get into those major stores and they scan it, they will show up on your ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC statements.
Well, I'm a proponent of using as well the Library of Congress, straight up copyrighted, straight up go to the Library of Congress. I think published work of audio recording, I think you can get 10 different published works at the price of $85 for copyright, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what I do as part of my label responsibilities to the people that are on my label and the projects we put out. We copyright everything, and I make sure everybody's name is correctly spelled in that so that they can get the sure, correct ownership of that material. So, Library of Congress, it's not that hard.
To just put a ribbon on that at the end, I just think, again, for all artists, it's most important that these things are done first. You know, it's important to have the music, but you're not going to get anything from the music if these things don't happen. If you're not making sure that your music is going to be connected to you as an artist. Other than that, a million people can love this, but they'll never really get back to you. So make sure that you are taking care of business first. Business before the music.
All right, okay. So we hear a lot about publishing. Can you break down in simple terms the difference between owning your masters versus owning your own publishing, and why both are crucial for long-term wealth?
So the master is the sound recording. So when you go in the studio, you make the song, and you put the song out, that's the song recording. So most of the time, whoever paid for that is the owner of it.
Paid for the studio time, paid for the
producers, yes. Paid all the expenses to create the sound recording. Now, publishing is another side of sound recording. So I can own the sound recording, right? So I just give it, I'm the label, he's the artist. He wrote the song. Now I paid for it, I put it out. I own the sound recording. He wrote it, so he still owns the publishing to that song. Now, unless you did a deal where you gave that up, which happens. But if we're just talking about straight up and down regular business, he wrote the song, so he's entitled to the composition of that song. So that's what publishing is. So it's like two totally different things. Like, they don't go hand in hand necessarily.
Anybody else want to touch on it?
To me, that summed it up, but if you want to add to it.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. But why are both crucial for long-term wealth?
It's like real estate. So you see, it's real estate. So that's how I look at intellectual property, right? I know we get this nostalgia, like I'm gonna hold this, I'm gonna keep this forever, which you can, because you can create that business. Like even if you look at like Michael Jackson, because that, you know, everything with the movie he had. So Michael Jackson owned his publishing, he owned his master, he was able to make a deal where he later owned his master recordings. But then you also, where you look at some of these artists, like Bob Dylan, he just sold his publishing catalog for $400 million. Because he looking at it like a real estate deal, because it's like when they doing these deals now where they're looking at, all right, what does this bring in annual? I'm gonna give you a 30 times multiple of that. And most people looking at it like, all right, I can take that now, I can take that liquid cash, I can go create other things. It's like having a business and selling it, you know what I'm saying? But it's real estate, so it's important. You gotta accumulate the real estate for it to even have any value.
Y'all all right up there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Protecting your intellectual property is wilder than ever, so how should Detroit artists navigate protecting their unique sound without letting the tech landscape scare them away from creating?
I think the first part of that is really just making sure that you have that ownership first, that business part of your ownership is intact. Then from that aspect, just having the education to understand what happens in regard to your royalties and publishing, right? Without the education is how all the artists have gotten taken advantage of, right? So you're looking back at how they used to do us, and y'all know what I'm talking about. A lot of those artists just didn't understand when they wrote a song what that meant, what intellectual property even meant, right? But other folk understood what it meant and took advantage of us because of it. So just that education piece is so important.
Okay.
Now you were saying as far as technology, like break that down to me, like what you were saying, like on the technology part.
I don't think I said nothing about technology.
I thought you did.
Yes, you did. You said something about tech scaring artists away.
Oh, the tech landscape. Yeah. Scaring them away from creating.
Why would you think it scare them away?
Yeah, I was going to say that same thing.
Well, I can answer that.
I didn't say it would. I was asking how do you do it without letting it scare them away?
Some people get scared away from posting music and putting music out because they don't have the understanding of the ownership. I think that's what the question meant.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Okay.
I think.
Well, I mean, you just like you said, it's just knowing, doing your research, surrounding yourself with people who don't know, surrounding yourself with people who do understand it.
Be willing to say I don't know, so that somebody can help you with it. You know what I mean? So somebody, and I don't understand that. I ain't hip to that. Put me up.
That was my whole career. My whole career was asking questions. Even to this day, like I feel like I know a lot, but I feel like it's still a lot I don't know. And I no question is a dumb question. I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna ask a million questions till I understand it wholeheartedly. Like, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? So just ask a million questions, and then if anybody make you feel awkward because you asking the questions, then that ain't the person you need to be around.
All that is revolved in, learning the business. Like we said, first business before the music. But once that business and that knowledge is acquired, then you can focus on being the artist that you are. And then when you just focus on your artistry and focus on getting better and expressing yourself and sharing with the culture, then it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It doesn't matter. As an artist, I'm focused on what I'm doing, what I'm putting across, who I am as an artist. And like I said, once you have that business portion down, then it's, it's 100 miles an hour, pushing forward towards whatever goal you're giving yourself. So, that's important as an artist.
And I'll say, read up on what you're signing up for. So everything has a term to say, okay, if your music goes on this platform, we will own and license your music without your approval or with your approval. So that's why, as far as with copyrights, if you have a legal document, you can put up a legal fight compared to like walking to a courtroom with just a laptop saying, here's my music. But you'll have that government seal saying, I legally put this out. So it's more so just reading whatever you're signing up for, whether it's just a management deal, production deal, distribution deal.
One thing to kind of piggyback on what he just said about reading up on things, just as putting out different projects. I put out my first solo album early 2025. The artist's name is Vellis D'Grate. D'Grate is spelled a little different, but you can find it on all the socials and all the streaming platforms. But as I was putting that project out, as well as the J. Jones Destiny project, and I'm also putting out a project later this month for Furious Manny Styles, artist that some of y'all might have heard of back if y'all was familiar with early Detroit hip hop. Putting that album out this later this month. But I'm researching how to do some vinyl. I want to get some vinyl for these artists and for myself. And just, I just thought it'd be great to have some vinyl. So I went to this company and asked them about, creating vinyl. I had this package where you can send them your stuff and they'll do the vinyl for you and then people can order straight from them. And it was just seamless, right? Until you read the fine print. It says that they own your master recordings after you sign up with them. Right? So now all of a sudden here you sign up with them and you just think you're getting some vinyl printed up. And then you go later to try to put your song with a commercial because 10 years later people are recognizing that music, right? No, they own that song now. So you got to really be careful of that type of thing.
And just real quick, that's the important part about the business. I keep going back to the business part because like you said, you could put this song out in 2000 and get no love. 2026, a movie comes out, they throw that song on a scene, and it's the biggest joint out. You know what I'm saying? And it wouldn't matter if you didn't own it. It wouldn't matter to you if you didn't own it. Because like you said, you can go to the courthouse with the song from 2000 on the laptop. You're not getting anything. They're gonna laugh at you. So it's really about getting the business done first, and then let your artistry take in place.
Cool. I like that y'all spoke on fine print. So what is a major red flag that artists should look out for in contracts or paperwork that might essentially sign away their ownership rights under the disguise of an opportunity?
Anything that says perpetuity.
I think he's right. Anything that says perpetuity, I think it's important to have, even if it's not, let's say, a lawyer, you can run it into, upload stuff into ChatGPT or Claude or one of them things and kind of, even just Google some of the words that's in these contracts, some of the language that's in it. Take a whole phrase, a whole paragraph, and put it into Google and say, translate it to layman's terms for me. Make me understand this if I was an 8th grader, right? And it'll break it down for you because a lot of times they'll sneak language in there that it's just over your head, and I got a college degree, and I know a lot of brothers and sisters here got college degrees, but we don't know every word in the English language, and some of them, they'll even throw some Latin in there sometime for you, where you just, you won't have an idea what they're trying to pull over on you, but you got to make sure you do that research, that due diligence.
For sure. My lawyers are my best friends. No, for real. So it's crazy. So when I first wanted to be a manager, I learned music law myself. Like I taught myself music law. I read like every single music law book that you could possibly read because I thought managers knew it. And then when I actually got into the game, nobody knows nothing. So I got cool with all the lawyers because when I was talking to them, having a conversation, they like, how you know that? So all of them got cool and then they started teaching me more stuff. But so I call them anytime we get something, I send it to them, we talk about it. Like a lot of the stuff I can read and understand myself, but definitely get with somebody that knows more than you so you can really break down and understand every single part that's in the deal so you know. Like I said, because sometimes, depending on the leverage you have, there's some things you can't negotiate. There's some things just like, all right, it's a give or take. But understand where you're at, what you can and cannot leverage, and if you do accept the deal for what it is, and know how you need to do to work through it, and make sure it's a deal that you can work through.
I feel like I need to be in the audience next to this brother.
yeah, for sure. I just think that it's crazy because, like you said, the most important thing is really those people that you have around you. I think as an artist, you don't want to be the smartest cat in the room, man. You want to be intelligent and intellectual, but you don't want to be the smartest person in the room in your camp. That means you're limited to what you know. I'd rather be around brothers and sisters that everybody got knowledge. That's why we camp. Everybody has a function. Everybody's working towards one goal. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
And I'll say one of the red flags that artists do when they want to negotiate a deal is use the phrase, I just want to create. Because as soon as they say that, it's like, okay, you don't want to handle none of the business. Okay, we got that. Here's our lawyer that's going to be your lawyer now. And then it's downhill. Every story for the last 50, 60 years for us has been that same story. So that's one of the red flags. Like, as much as any of us got into the industry, as an up-and-coming artist, that's just one phrase. Even if you feel it passionately, just Think it to yourself, don't say it out loud.
So this is our last question. This is for actually all of you. What does a sustainable business infrastructure look like for an independent artist who wants to make sure their family benefits from their catalog for decades to come?
Well, that's a great question. Because we're still trying to figure that out as artists ourselves. But I would really say for me, understanding the business, like brother said here, and making sure that you have your ducks in the row, asking the right questions, seeking wise counsel. Those are all good practices and common practices I think people should elicit in order to try to sustain a business. But then you got to define what success means to you, right? He might be looking for a yacht and a mansion. I might be looking for a flat and a Camaro, right? So it's just defining what success means to you and what successful music business looks like for you, because that could be different for everybody.
No, I agree with that. It's definitely different levels of success, and like I said, that's a personal question that the artist has to ask themselves, where they want to go and how far they want to take it. But like the infrastructure, like I said, I guess going back to beating a dead horse is like understanding, having your publishing in order, understanding, do you own your masters? Sometimes you don't, but what's the deal? Is it a reversion in this deal? When you get them back, if you did take it, if you took a deal, how much do you need to recoup on this deal? It's like all these different things. So it has to be a deep understanding of everything that's happening around you to understand the infrastructure. Your merchandise, like, are you in merchandise? Have you, did you create a merchandise by yourself? Or you have a partner that you create a merchandise, and all those things? And do you have somebody in your family that is willing to take this on? Again, I think that's why a lot of these older artists are selling, because their family not trying to take over the business, so they selling it to people who are gonna be able to carry it on and keep it and make it monetized. And some of these deals, it's not like you just outright selling. Sometimes it's like, all right, you selling it to a point, and then once we reach a threshold, then you still participating in it. So it's just different things.
I'll say take an audit of whatever you're earning, set it up in a business bank account under your artist name as an LLC or S Corp, then create that as a trust and leave those family members' names within that trust. So that way, when your time comes and you're past, you don't have family search and say, oh, such and such, made this much money off this album, I own 1%. But if they're not part of that trust, then it was your choice while you were still living to make that decision.
Y'all get Brother Troy's book too.
Yeah, I got it right in the back table where the Architect Entertainment sign is at.
So what is your book about?
Royalties, revenue, and investments.
The full breakdown, everything you need to know is right in that book for sure.
Speaking of what he's saying, that's another thing, like go back to one of your earlier questions about something that they need to do. Yes, LLC, do not do any business under your own name with your social security number, LLC.
Yeah, set up a corporation.
Everything, because your brand as an artist is a business.
Treated like such.
Yeah.
That was just the portion I was going to say with the LLC, very important. Again, very important that you are treating it as a business, because it is a business. And then again, coming up with a game plan, a business plan on what it is you want. How are you going to make this money to leave this money for your family? Is it going to be from the songs blowing up and you having ownership? Is it going to be from doing world tours and you making this money on tour? Is it going to be from people liking your merch and your merch blows up? It's just so many different ways that you can make money to leave for your family. So it's really about coming up with a good business plan on how you're going to do it, because everybody's a little different, and when you do, like you said, you want all the business to be in an LLC. Just again, it goes back to professionalism.
All right. Well, let's hear it one more time for our final panel, you guys. Ownership and legacy. That is how we protect the culture. That concludes our panel portion of the Rhyme and Reason Hip Hop Music Summit. The afternoon is far from over. From now we got till 6:30. The floor is open, so featured experiences from our DJs, celebrating the Detroit sounds. We have the Detroit JIT experience and live dance demonstrations, so make sure you network and connect with the entrepreneurs in the room and capture those moments. And don't go home, because at 7 p.m. we do have the recognition ceremony, so y'all got to stay for that too.
We live right here with the legendary Esham, Day One, Detroit hip hop, Detroit rap music, period, pioneer, independent hustle, real life. We got this Detroit Pioneer Award for him, Rhyme and Reason Music Summit. And he our inspiration here in the city. He is what up though, what it really mean and what it be like, what that really mean. You know what I'm saying? Esham.
Thank you so much, brother. First of all, we're going to give this award to God. All praise is due to the Most High, because we love God so much. Don't praise me. Please praise the Lord, because that's what's up. Detroit, keep doing your thing. Keep chasing your dreams. One love. We love you guys. All right? Thank you so much.
Resiliant Radio. We see y'all. Thank y'all.
Make some noise, y'all. And for the sake of time, we're just gonna keep it moving. And that was just a quick demonstration of how Detroit JIT is. Feel free, if some of y'all got footwork still, come up to the stage. I'm an MC, I got 5 seconds in me. I got a hot 5 seconds. I'm not going after that. Forget about it. DJ Dez with the mother freaking ones and twos.
Yes, indeed. The Keep Alive Village has been in our community for 48 years, and Spinning has been there for 3 years. And this year we are offering free summer programs for children between 12 to 15 years old to participate in our programs and learn DJing, learning using turntables and a mixer, music production using Ableton and Fender Studio One, learning how to finger drum using melodics, and podcasting and content creation. We want to be able to give access to our children that don't have the money to pay for this type of equipment. I go to the NAMM conference almost every year for the last 4 years. Anybody ever been to the NAMM conference? The NAMM conference is one of the oldest trade shows in the world, and it deals around music. One thing our children don't have, especially in the city of Detroit, is fully functioning music programs. Has anybody noticed that? And it's for a reason. Because they want our children, or allow our children to express their creativity. So Spinning has been functioning for 11 years now. We was down at Dime, if you remember Dime, that was downtown off of Griswold. We was there. We was at DSA for 5 years. My first school that we actually implemented our program was University Prep Science and Math, right next door to the Science Center. So by going to NAMM and talking to these manufacturers and software developers, I've gotten a lot of equipment that need to be utilized. Programs like ours in New York will cost thousands and thousands of dollars to go to. Anybody ever heard of DubSpot? Scratch Academy, 343 Labs, Full Sail. These schools charge thousands and thousands of dollars for something that we at Spin Inc. are offering for free for children. So we want everybody to, if you have a chance, go next door. I have a small setup of the software that we'll be using, but also have a QR code. If you know a child that will have nothing to do this summer and want to be in a safe space, use that QR code and sign them up. Because they talk about all these teenage takeovers and stuff. There's community centers that have been shut down on purpose to create this type of stuff that was done 20 years ago. But the Keep Line Village is open. It's been there for 48 years. And just like the brother said, you learn martial arts over there? I've been studying martial arts primarily all my life. And hip hop is just an extension of that. Breakdancing, that's capoeira. That came from Angola. The culture is there, but we have to present it to our children in a different way where they're able to benefit from it. Spin Inc. also prides itself on not playing derogatory music that is an additive destruction to our community. We have to change the music. Back in the day, who remember the Rhythm Kitchen? Back in the day, we had fun, we danced, we enjoyed ourselves in this hip hop culture. Now, I don't know. So we have to bring up the next generation of producers, DJs, MCs in an environment where that's conducive to the well-being of our community. And I say this passionately. That's the reason why I started this organization. It wasn't because I really wanted to showcase DJ skills. I wanted to help save some children's lives. Because they're taking our children's lives through music. So, is that my 10 minutes?
And y'all go see Jungle, go see that table. Everybody in this room. About music, hip-hop, and real, talk to my man. Get them children into it. Right, because they coming wild in the streets, and we like, oh, no, we need to do something.
And it's serious.
We the men, there's 90% men in here. The YNs need us.
Exactly. Exactly. And if we don't set an example through our music and take accountability and responsibility of what we create, shame on us. And we're going to get what we're due. And our children are worth it. They don't have to be just one J Dilla. You know how many thousands of J Dillas in the basement want to be a J Dilla, don't have access? They don't have an amp filler to teach them and give them the access to this type of equipment. Who knew amp in this room? Raise their hand. Ashe, rest in power, brother. He did a dynamic job with helping J Dilla in his career. We need more of those. How many of y'all brothers know how to do something? Teach a youth how to do it. That's how we stop a lot of this madness in our community. And especially through education. I'm very proud to be a part of this, because it is about education. It's more than just partying. The party's always packed, but the education is always kind of loose. We need to tighten that up. You understand? So Spinning is here for you. Go see our table, use that QR code. If it's not for your child, pass it on to somebody else's child. We do Detroit, all the Wayne County, Oakland County. If you can get to 7701 Harper, come on. And the program starts at the end of the month in June, all the way up to the first week in August. Yes, ma'am.
Do you allow people to volunteer services to help out?
Of course. The more help that I have, the more children we can help. I'm only one person. You understand? I've been doing this organization for 11 years, and sometimes I feel by myself. I've had producers come in, I had DJs come in and help me teach, but it takes a village to help this Detroit children. So all the brothers and sisters that's in the community, that's in this culture, especially if you're positive, and you ain't talking about all that negative stuff that we hear every day, 24/7, Spin Inc. would like to work with you. We like to collab with you. So I think that's my 10 minutes. And we're going to go into the next portion. I believe Des is coming up for the techno aspect. And you know what? No, wait, hold on. Is this sticking to the schedule? Oh, let me see. Techno, Detroit Techno Electronic DJ set. And I'd like to give a big shout out to this brother. The first time I seen him, I came home from Germany. That was in 1992. 92, 93, hang around in the Rhythm Kitchen, I met this brother. This brother was in the Michigan Citizen, I think the front page, back in the early 90s. That's how long I've been following this brother. This brother really inspired me to be a DJ. Just standing by watching him, and his cuts are so sharp. His timing is technical. Everything is perfect. You know, DJs make mistakes or whatever, but this brother, you know what I'm saying, he probably got more stamps in his passport than any other DJ in Detroit. So I'm very proud to work with this brother. I'm very proud to be in his, you know, in his company and learn from him also, because you keep living, you keep learning. You stop learning, you stop living. All right, peace, that's my say. All right, peace.